What was the hardest thing to adjust to when you first came into this prison?
I've always naively, I guess, thought that women were the gentler sex, the weaker sex. That's what society wants us to believe. And the fact that women can stab a man to death 40 times, I find that incomprehensible.
South of Chicago, in the state of Indiana, 2 prisons hold some of America's most dangerous female criminals. The Rockville Correctional Facility and Indiana Women's Prison house over 1,800 offenders. Many are serving long sentences for extremely violent crimes. Some will end their days here.
How severely was the victim hurt?
The bullet came into close contact with his eye and
You shot him in the face?
Yes.
For 4 weeks, I was given access to a world and a culture, the like of which I've never known.
So you were classed as a baby killer?
I was that, I am that. I'm a lot more than that as well, but that's who I am.
America imprisons more women than anywhere else in the world. This is Indiana Women's Prison. My escort, Sergeant McPherson, is taking me to meet the most notorious inmate in the state, a convicted double murderer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Sergeant, we're heading now to
the Administrative Segregation Unit. This unit is where our disciplinary offenders are. This is what you call like a punishment for them. We put them here to give them time to think about what they've done and to clear up their negative behavior.
Offenders in this unit spend more than 20 hours a day locked in their cells. They have no contact with the rest of the prison population.
Hey, Sarah, you ready?
Sarah Pender has been in this segregation unit for nearly 5 years. This is punishment not for the double murder for which she was convicted, but for an incident in 2008 which made headline news across the country.
Why do you think they have given you this long sentence, as it were, in segregation unit?
Because I embarrassed them.
How did you embarrass them?
Well, I escaped from what was supposed to be a maximum security prison.
How did you do that?
An officer aided me.
In what way?
This is a little embarrassing. He drove me out. They have these transportation vans that come in to get fuel. They have like their own little gas station, and we planned it so that when he came in to get fuel, then I came out and got in the van.
How did you manage to persuade an officer
Well, I didn't actually
to take you out?
I didn't actually ask him. Yeah, I know. It's I was having when I was planning my escape, I planned on doing it by myself, and but I needed money, and I didn't want to ask my family because I would have to lie to them about what it was for. So in order to make money, I worked with this officer who would traffic in contraband, and then my friends would sell it for money, and then I would get the money to save up for my escape. And so he was making a lot of money because I was paying him very well to do this, and he found out that I was planning an escape, and saw an opportunity to make more money. And so he said, well, what if I could just roll you out of here? I said, that would be worth my while. And as a side note, I also had a sexual relationship with the officer, and that came out when I escaped, and that was very embarrassing to the department.
I think I'm beginning to understand why the authorities have taken such a strong line on your case.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned it was an embarrassment. I think it's a huge embarrassment for them.
Yes, and The only explanation that they've given my mother for why I'm in here is that I'm, quote, too smart for their facility.
This is the Rockville Correctional Facility, from which Sarah Pender escaped in 2008. She was on the run for more than 4 months and was labeled America's Most Wanted Woman.
Leading the way back to Indiana, 2 state troopers and an unmarked police car, bringing convicted murderer and prison escapee Sarah Jo Pender back to an Indiana state prison. Pender has been on the run from police since escaping from the Rockville Correctional Facility last August.
She'll have no contact with the outside. No phone calls, no visits, and will minimize her contact even with staff internally.
The state has been true to its word. And this has been Sarah Pender's life ever since. Scott Spittler, the officer who helped her escape, was jailed for 7 years. Sergeant McPherson has known Sarah Pender from the day she arrived at Indiana Women's Prison.
She must have struck up a very deep relationship, having targeted that male officer.
He was having problems at home, and she preyed on that. She preyed on his emotions. She made him feel that she was going to save him, that she would be his everything, that she would replace what he didn't have. And he was so vulnerable, he fell for it. So he did whatever she asked. He fell in love with her.
He fell in love with her?
Yes, but of course she wasn't in love with him. She used him to get what she wanted, and that was to get out of Rockville.
And you would put that down to her ability to...
Manipulate. She is... I've seen a lot. I've been here for over 20 years. Sarah is one of the best manipulators I've seen.
Out in the general population, prisoners must conform to strictly regimented days. 3 hours for recreation. "15-minute sittings for meals. Apart from this routine, inmates are allowed out of their cells, although they are confined to their assigned units.
Thank you.
This is Unit 13. Offenders have just returned from lunch.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. I'm Trevor McDonald.
Hi, Trevor. I'm Addie.
Addie? What are you doing here today?
I'm just talking. She's doing a little crafting, a little writing.
Some cards. You're sending cards out.
Mother's Day cards. It's coming up, so we got to get them out.
Yeah. Does your mother come to see you here?
No. My mother, she lives out of state, so she really doesn't come up here much.
She's never come to see you at all?
No. We just talk on the phone.
Yeah. And how long have you been in this prison?
Since 2006.
2006?
Yes.
That's
a long time for
7 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's a long time not only for you but for anybody.
Yeah. Yep.
How did that come about?
I got strong armed robbery charges. So.
Strong armed robbery charges.
Yeah, that's more for like physical robbery. Like I didn't have a gun or anything. I was fighting, punching, that kind of stuff.
What were you robbing?
Oh, people. Sorry. It was 3 people.
Where was this, in a street?
Yeah, we were driving around. We stopped when we seen people walking. We hopped out the car, bum rushed them kinda, beat them up, knocked them down, tried to snatch the purses.
So you robbed 3 people?
Yeah.
How much did you take?
Oh, it was only $300 from that robbery, so it really wasn't nothing. A stupid decision, not worth anything, especially all these years of my life.
When you say from that robbery, you suggest that there were other instances.
Yeah, there was. I just didn't get caught, fortunately.
How old were you when you started on this may I call it a career?
Oh, well, since I was about 13.
School?
I went to school up until like 10th grade, then I started fighting, getting expelled, and I just stopped going. I'm actually really smart in school. I always had straight A's, but I just couldn't stay there, always fighting, getting expelled.
Why couldn't you stay there? Why did you find the need to fight? What?
I just have a really horrible anger problem, so I always let that get the best of me.
Even looking at you now, I'm finding it difficult to believe that you are capable of having done that.
I'm very much capable of it.
Because you're still very young.
Yeah, I'm 25. Yeah.
And your sentence was?
16 years, do 8.
If you behave well.
Yeah.
If you control your anger.
Right. And actually, probably in the most recent year, I can say, I've been getting control of my anger. And I have 2 kids, so I know I have to
You have 2 kids?
Yes.
How old are they?
They're 7 and 9. 2 little girls.
Do you feel you have let them down by not being there for them?
Yes, I have. And I deal with that every day, and that's really like my biggest motivation to changing and being different and coming out of here and, you know, taking something from it, not just, oh, I've been in prison. You know, I want to walk out of here and be something for them. I just do not want them to follow this same circle. Like, my mother was in prison. You know, this is the same.
What for?
Attempted murder and aggravated robbery.
So that was not perhaps a great start for you in your life, was it?
No, it wasn't. That's kind of what, you know, kicked everything off. It's Mama leaving.
Addie Hartz will be free in only a few months. She'll spend much longer picking up the threads of her life. I'm on my way to the Rockville Correctional Facility. This is the largest women's prison in the state of Indiana.
I still need Bowen, Jones, Fairchild, Andrea Jones, Dean, Bria, Reuter.
Rockville is a clearinghouse for convicts from all over the state. Some will serve all their time here. Others are assessed and moved on to other prisons. Every month on average, 200 new offenders arrive here. This is their first port of call. From now on, their every action will be governed by prison rules.
Ready? Look right up here. 1, 2, 3.
All right, this paper here tells you we don't allow any sexual contact of any kind between you and staff and you or our offenders.
Your stuff? Okay. Go over there and get a styrofoam cup, put your name on it. There's water in the orange thing.
From the way an intake looks when she comes in here, can you tell what she might be in for?
No. I don't ever try to guess. Some of them, when you look at them and you look at the offender, it's like you cannot believe that that's what she's here for.
You're frequently surprised by what they've done.
Very much so, yeah. You would, if you look at, the paper and then look at her and you're going, there's no way. But, yep.
Do you see many of the same people coming and going?
Yes. They'll come in that door back there and say, I'm home. And I'm going, really? Because for some of them this is. Because they have nowhere else to go. Okay, I'm gonna roll each finger. I'm gonna start with your right thumb.
Hello, I'm Trevor.
Hi, I'm Paula.
Have you been in this prison before?
Yes, I have. For Fort Wayne, Indiana, I've been here for possession of meth. So I've been here before, but I only stayed like an intake. I didn't leave intake, but this time I will.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this time you will be in the general prison population.
Yeah, sure will.
What sort of prospect is that for you?
A little scary, but at the same time, like, I don't know, teach me little morals, you know? Teach me not to come back.
Do you have a drug dependency?
I've been to rehab, yeah. I'm an addict straight up, so yeah, I do.
How long have you been an addict?
Since I was 17 and I'm 28. A couple years, a long time.
Do you have children?
I do. I have 4.
4 children?
I have 4. My oldest one is 13. I have a 13-year-old, 12-year-old, 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
I'm trying to find a hopeful road out of this for you.
I know.
What's that?
I don't know. I have to have a game plan when I leave here, I know that. Like, going back to the life, like, when I got in trouble this time, I violated probation because I didn't have no transportation back and forth, and I wasn't using, and I haven't used for maybe 3 months at the most, you know, and that's pretty good for me because I was doing needles and all kinds of stuff. But 3 months is a big step, and I just want it a little bit further and a little bit further. But it's hard. It's really, really hard.
Thank you very much for talking to me. Good luck.
Thank you.
New inmates have a month of prison orientation. They're easily recognized by their orange uniform. For every new arrival, some other prisoner is about to leave. Martha Search is quietly counting down the days.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I caught up with her on her mail delivery round.
Martha, how long have you been in?
Almost 20 years.
The thought of getting out must be a exhilarating one.
Yes.
But you must also be worried about getting back into the world after all this time.
Yeah, I am, but this time has given me time to discover things I didn't have before, like patience. And I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but I just take one day at a time. And I'm just anxious to see how the world has changed in that 20 years.
You'll have a lot to catch up on.
Yes, I have a lot to catch up on, and I have 2 daughters grown that were ages almost 13 and 16 when I was incarcerated, who are now 32 and 35. So I haven't seen them in a while.
Have you seen any of them since you've been here?
I haven't seen my youngest daughter since '99. She couldn't do it no more. And my oldest, I stopped coming in 2005 because she didn't want to leave without me anymore.
And you missed quite a lot.
I just went from here to Terre Haute to the hospital not long ago, and I was awestruck at the things I saw. And I had to have the officer tell me what it was because I didn't know what it was.
Things like what?
I seen this little gadget once, and I didn't know what it was, and someone said it was an iPod, so I had to have them explain to me what an iPod was, because I don't know. And a cell phone. I'm used to your cord phones at home. So, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to get out and try these things. I'm a type of person that likes to learn things, and I'm curious, and I'm gonna find out, and I'm gonna get on Google. I found out all about Google and all them. I just can't wait. I just can't wait to explore everything.
So you're waiting to make your entry back into the real world?
Yes. And I've told my children that you might still see a little prison in me because I've been down so long. You know, there might be this
What does that mean?
There might be this one time when I look at the clock and think it's count time. Or not sure if I should answer the telephone. And money's gonna be strange to my hands, you know? And so I said if I act a little different or if I wander off for an hour or two, don't worry about Mom, I'm exploring.
Have you thought what your first night of freedom would be like when you can sleep in a bed of your own?
I feel it might show me how a little bit of heaven would feel. That's how I think of it, is a little bit of heaven. You know,
Not in a dorm surrounded by other people.
heaven. Heaven.
For 20 years, Martha Search has been told what to do and when. All those decisions will soon be hers alone. prison inmates on long sentences survive partly on dreams of freedom. But in August 2008, one female offender, Sarah Pender, actually broke out of Rockville. The convicted double murderer had earlier told me that her escape plan relied on the help of Officer Scott Spittler.
Now, since September, we've been hot on the trail of a woman authorities have called a female Charles Manson. Now, recently she was added to the U.S. Marshals 15 Most Wanted list, making her the most wanted woman in America.
But how on earth do the authorities explain the fact that she escaped? Lieutenant Brad Gray was on duty on the day of the breakout.
Lieutenant Gray, what were your impressions of Sarah Pender while she was here?
She was always trying to get an advantage over someone or something. It was always about, anytime you talk to her, if you ask her a question, she would typically respond with, "What's in it for me?" And when people, either say that or give you the impression that that's what they're trying to do, then it should put you on notice that, you have to be careful about how you're dealing with them.
She got out through a back door in this recreation building. Having changed into casual clothes, she hid her prison uniform in the ceiling. The door alarms failed to go off, and a white van was waiting. With Pender crouching under the back seat, Spittler drove her out of the west gate and out onto the open road.
What were your feelings about the fact that this was an officer with whom you had worked very closely, someone you knew, someone you had served with, and someone you respected as a colleague?
Once we discovered that it was him that had driven Pender out of the facility, I was just absolutely sick, just sick to my stomach, physically sick, mentally sick over the entire episode.
Sarah Pender proved to be, as you had probably thought when she came in here, that she was just as clever a manipulator as you had originally felt.
Oh, absolutely. She has proven herself to be that time and time again, and that is probably the best proof of it right then and there. If you can convince an officer, someone who was trained not to do this, somebody who was trained to maintain the order and the peace of a facility, if you can convince that person to drive you out of a correctional facility, you can convince anybody to do anything.
The authorities were bruised by Sarah Pender's escape. She was put in solitary confinement and has now been here for almost 5 years, longer than any other female prisoner in the state. Of the 1,200 offenders at Rockville Correctional Facility, 85% of them are mothers. I'm on my way to Dormitory 2, where new arrivals to the prison are housed.
Thank you.
Paula McIntosh, a mother of 4, was beginning the difficult process of adjustment.
Paula, what was your first night like here?
I like going in and seeing all the new girls.
Was it a very talkative dorm? Did you get some sleep?
They let me sleep. They helped me. They talked to me a little bit, told me if I needed any shampoo or anything, they'd help me out. But yeah, a lot of noise, a lot of echoes. You can wake up easy,
What was the biggest shock to you coming into intake?
When you get not really to intake, just when you drive up in that vehicle and you turn around and you see that the last gate close, it's your heart goes instant. Yeah, it's really hard.
Will you have a visit soon, or?
No, my family won't come up here. My dad, he doesn't really come and see us because it's just really hard on him. So I'm pretty sure I won't get no visits.
Why won't your father come to see you?
I think it's too hard on him because there's me and then my brother's just turned 18 and he's locked up and it's just like a pattern, you know? And I think it's really hard on him, so he won't come see me.
It's hard on him, but it's also very tough on you that he wouldn't come to see you.
Yep. Plus, he's got my daughter. He's got my 9-year-old right now. So, you know, he's got a lot of responsibilities on him. So I just had to, I don't know, pray for him. That's all I can do.
Your daughter is 9. At that age, she's able to understand a great deal. I wonder what your father said to her or says to her about your situation.
She knows. Melissa's been like, I've been locked up before. My daughter's Melissa, and she's really strong, and she knows everything. I don't lie to her. I told her she knows about my drug use. She knows about she knows everything. And I called her this time and told her I was going to prison, and she's like, just keep your head up.
Gosh, that's pretty tear-jerking to be told by your 9-year-old daughter to keep your head up. But even for you to make a call to say that you're going to prison.
Yep.
Yeah. And you have no idea when you'll see her again?
No. Her dad just got out of prison, and he's not seen her not one time. And she's 9, and I guess he's just like coming around. My dad's letting him come and see her, like visits. So that's like a big step for her too. When it's just like, and then it's like, I'm there and then I'm gone, you know?
Well, I hope your time passes here very quickly, and I hope that you get a chance to be reunited with your daughter and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for talking to me.
You too.
Thank you.
At Indiana Women's Prison, it's morning recreation. It's a chance for inmates to make friends and cultivate relationships, which can be a desperately important part of prison life. The most troublesome offenders have few opportunities to do that. They are confined to this segregation unit. They have 1 hour out of their cells and are escorted, shackled, even to go for a shower. Sarah Pender's cell faces that of her friend, armed bank robber Desiree Hancock.
Put your arms back out here then. This one? Yeah. I heard you tighten it up after I put it on you. All right, step back. Step out.
But I notice you're opposite Sarah Pender.
Yes, I love her. That's one of my very good friends, I would like to give her a lot of credit for partly the woman that I am today. Like when I get ready to show out or I get ready to snap because this place will take you there, she'll be like, Desiree, shut up. Or shut up, go sit down. And I'll go sit down, I'll calm down. In a place like this, friend is not a word that you just throw around. And it's not something that you just say because women are very vindictive creatures and they're very fake and they're very just catty. They will smile in your face and they would just be like, hey, and I just hope nothing but the best for you. And then you turn around and they done blue slipped you like 35 times and trying to get you and your girlfriend separated.
How close do these relationships get? You mentioned women and her girlfriend. That's it's a pretty
They get pretty deep.
Pretty deep.
They get pretty deep. A lot of women don't come in here gay. I wasn't when I came to prison, but I am now. And
you have become
yes,
practicing gay? Is that
yes, I'm a lesbian. Yes, I am.
But you discovered that, or you became that when you were here, when you came to this?
I was married 3 years before I came to prison to a man. And, it's just, I don't know, loneliness is what started it. And then I don't know. One thing led to another, and it may seem fake on the outside, but emotions and feelings are real.
And you have had such a deep relationship in this.
I've had two great loves. I've had a dozen relationships, but I've had two great loves, and I have
In this prison?
And I will say that I damaged both of them. I damaged both of them.
How did you do that? How did you
Just being a
damage both
cheater.
of them?
Being a cheater, a liar, it was like being a cheater and a liar. Like when you're in a relationship, it's like being a kid in a candy store. It's not just one. It's not one girl. It's 740 girls. So, and out of the 740, probably only 40 ain't gay. The rest of them, this is the gayest place on earth. The rest of them are all gay.
It's lunchtime on Unit 13. Inmates follow a well-marked-out route to the food hall. I meet up again with Addie Hartz, who is hoping very soon to leave this place for good.
Am I allowed to grab one of these?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grab. Okay. What's on the menu today?
This is a chicken patty with gravy.
What is this?
A chicken patty.
Okay.
With gravy. This is supposed to be cabbage, and this is some kind of Spanish rice, I'm sure.
Spanish rice.
Yeah. Some of it's really not bad. I'm bashing the food, but some of it really isn't that bad. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna eat this stuff.
Yeah, this is a good tray today.
Are you guys ready to say grace?
Yes.
Okay. Dear Lord, we come to you and thank you for this meal. We ask that you bless it and let it be nourishment to our bodies. In your precious name we pray and thank you. Amen.
Amen.
The gravy's too watery, so it made it really soggy.
The other thing is about this place, which is very obvious, is that this is an all-female environment.
Yeah.
Which you've had to get used to.
Right. And that's kind of funny because on the streets I never really hung around females. But there's people here that I'm close with. Queenie's one of them. This is Crusher. We're close.
Yeah.
Not like sisters, but just close. People that you bond with and have fun with.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We all have a common bond. No matter your crime, we all have a common bond. Like we could see someone like Christian having a bad day or Addie have a bad day and then she crying. This is a no-touch facility. We ain't supposed to be hugging, but we do.
I feel like women need the comfort of, hey, it's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
And if you can tell me all day, but if you touch me and let me know it's gonna be all right.
Keep everything surface,
Is everything on the surface, or are there deeper relationships than that?
In here?
Yes.
Yeah, plenty of them. But I try not to get involved in all that. I've been involved with deeper relationships in here, and it just didn't really go well. So I just try not to.
Oh, so you were, you say?
Yeah.
And it didn't go well?
No, not at all. Like, you feel like it's going well while it's going, but once they're like out of sight, they go home or something, it never goes as planned. Like all the words they've said, it doesn't add up.
Now you're looking forward to being out in a few months, but what are the fears, what are the worries about this world that you're going into after 6, 7, 8 years?
Well,
what concerns you?
Really just the fact of being put back in the same environment, the same surroundings, and making the other choice, not the negative choice. So, what'd y'all say? Y'all don't like it?
Well, we was looking at your cabbage. I was wondering, can I have it?
You're looking at the cabbage. You can have my cabbage. Yes, please. Please have my cabbage.
We're allowed to share.
So you had 2 cabbages today.
That's right.
You'll take the chicken patty?
I sure will.
I'm glad my presence here is serving some purpose. So you've left me bread and rice.
You see how it goes?
And I'm not eating my rice. You can have mine.
Thank you very much, ladies.
That's how it works around here.
Will you miss Addie? Will you miss?
Yes, I will. To me, she's a youngster. So I think it's my job to put some meat on her brain, put a little knowledge on her, so she won't come back here, because this is not where you want to be. I keep her grounded, like if she's mad, I'll be like, okay, Addie, let's talk.
Do you think that she's going to stay out of trouble?
I think so. I think she got it right. She has babies, so I think she's
You guys are great.
Go home.
It kind of keeps me really motivated.
And that's the big point for you too, isn't it? You have your life back with your children.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I just can't wait. They deserve so much more. You know, like this has been my life, and this is my parents' life, and this was their parents' life. And I'm just so ready to break that curse, that cycle.
The prison officers I spoke to were optimistic that once she's released, Addie Harts stands a good chance of keeping out of trouble. At the end of my first visit, I asked to see the convicted double murderer Sarah Pender again.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Once described as America's most wanted woman, her notoriety is a far cry from her formative years and life as a college student. All that changed in the year 2000. Pender was charged with the murder of a couple with whom she shared a house. They were actually shot by her boyfriend, Richard Hull, but the prosecution believed that Sarah Pender was instrumental in planning the murder. She bought the murder weapon. And she helped to dispose of the bodies in this skip.
She has a Charles Manson-like ability to manipulate people to act as surrogates for her in committing crimes. The evidence was overwhelming that if she didn't pull the trigger, she did everything else.
Pender has always admitted helping to get rid of the bodies, but she strenuously denies masterminding the killings. But she failed to convince the jury. Pender was found guilty of double murder. I kept hoping to get to the bottom of the Sarah Pender story.
Okay. The thing that I have always got from the conversations we've had before is that you are not typical of the people in this prison environment generally. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
I would. I have a wider worldview, and I think that I've been able to glean more wisdom than the typical person. I'm generally more educated. I have 5 years of college.
Why did you choose the path that ended you up here?
It was an emotional attachment to someone who, when I found out that he dealt drugs, that I accepted it because I didn't want to lose him.
So at every stage you were aware of where that codependency was taking you?
Yes, I went into the relationship with my eyes open. However, I was very, very naive, and I never thought that it would bring harm to me or anyone that I loved. And like most women, I thought that I could change him. And I asked him to stop selling drugs and to get a real job, and he agreed. And that was the path that I thought we were going on at the time.
Were you aware that there were guns in the house or a gun in the house?
Yeah, I bought the gun. It was my gun. He asked me to buy him a gun.
If someone asked me to buy a gun, my first question would be, A, why me? Why are you asking me to do it? And what are you going to use it for? Mm-hmm. Did you ask those questions?
Yeah. And he told me that I was the only person who didn't have a criminal background, because
Well, that in itself is awfully suspicious.
in America, you can't buy a firearm legally if you have a felony. And so I was the only person who was legally able to buy it. But
Sure, but I'm talking about the fact that you were being asked to buy a gun by a felon.
the thought of being left alone frightened me more than whatever consequences would come from purchasing a firearm.
What kind of a gun was this?
It was a shotgun that you would use for hunting, like, I think birds. I don't know, I didn't pick it out.
But in the end, it was not used for hunting birds. It was used for shooting two people with whom he was in a disagreement.
Yeah. Well, he had no disagreement with the woman. He said that he shot her just because she was a witness.
The bare fact of the matter is that you purchased a gun which was used in the killing of two people. Did you think about the victims of the people who were killed in this crime?
I think about them all the time. I think more about their families. The woman had 3 kids. Patricia, she had 3 children. And despite the fact that they were both felons, drug dealers, it doesn't matter. They were still people, and they have families that love them, just like I have a family that loves me. And they can't ever get those people back.
What did you think when you heard the judge or the prosecutor pronounce a sentence on you? Because you were given two very long sentences.
Yes, I was given 110 years.
110 years?
Yeah.
What were your emotions on hearing that dreadful sentence?
Disbelief.
Why did the jury in the end conclude that you were directly involved in the murder of 2 people?
I knew that I had committed a crime, but I knew I wasn't guilty of murder, and I was willing to take responsibility for my actions.
In that case, was it in somebody's mind, the mind of the prosecutors, the prosecuting authorities, that you had somehow encouraged or manipulated him into committing those murders?
Yes. Yes, that was their theory, that I had, this is where the entire reputation of manipulation, that I'm a manipulator, came from. The prosecutor had went forward on the theory that I had manipulated Richard into murdering the victims, and his theory was that I wanted them out of my house.
You were being judged, or you were seen, you were perceived as a two-faced manipulator.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a really hard label to carry. Every time I meet somebody new, if they are aware of my infamous reputation, it's a new hurdle to jump. And that's a consequence of my actions.
My second visit to Indiana Women's Prison began in its segregation unit. The prisoners here are among the most dangerous, and some have been punished for breaking the rules. They are locked down for 23 hours a day and have no contact with the rest of the institution.
Miss Boyd? Some people here would like to meet you. Yes, I'm close to the door behind you. Step right here. You can step in front of your door for me, please. Okay.
Thank you very much for coming out of your cell to talk to us.
No problem.
How long have you been in this segregation unit?
In about a week, it'll be 4 months. So
What's that like?
it's hard, especially being pregnant.
You're pregnant.
Yeah.
When did you find out you were pregnant? Where?
When I got arrested, they gave me a pregnancy test at the county jail while I was there, and I found out there. And I was already like a month in my pregnancy, because I'm 5 months right now.
It's one thing to be pregnant in any general prison population. It must be particularly agonizing to be pregnant and to be in a segregated cell.
Yeah, like I said, you feel alone. You feel like, I mean, it's so depressing to where like every day at 6 o'clock when we get mail, you sit there on your bed and you look under your door to see if you get mail. And when you don't, like I sit there and I cry because I feel like everybody just forgot about me. And being pregnant is even worse because my hormones are driving me crazy. 1 minute I'm mad, 1 minute I'm even madder, 1 minute I'm really upset. It's just an emotional roller coaster in this little room by myself.
When was your last communication with the father of your child?
Before we came here.
Is this your first baby?
No, I have a daughter. She's 5. She's with my mother right now.
What does your 5-year-old make of your situation? Because she is probably of the age where she's just about beginning to comprehend that her mother is not around.
Oh yeah, I talked to her. She knows that I've been in trouble, and she tells me like it is. I'll call her at home and she'll tell me, why can't you just stop getting in trouble and be home with me? And you know, she tells me she's like the mom and I'm the child. That's what it seems like right now.
Boyd escaped from a prison work program which was based in the local community. Her punishment is 6 months in this unit. Pregnant women who do follow the rules and who have committed less serious crimes are put in a separate wing. Once they're about to give birth, they are taken to a local hospital. Their babies will then spend the first months of their lives back here.
Brooke, how long have you been in prison?
I've been here since September.
And when was your...
He was born December 6th.
What's his name?
Zayden.
Zayden. How well did they look after you in this facility when you were in the advanced stages of your pregnancy?
They looked after us really well. Once I had to go and be induced, so they took me out like Wednesday evening, and I went to the hospital, got induced, and I had him later on that night. And we get to stay there 24 to 48 hours, depending on whether you bottle feed or breastfeed.
How does that work in hospital? Do you have somebody looking over you? You have a guard there while you give birth?
Yes, the officer usually sits in the room 24/7, and you're shackled to the bed unless you're in active labor. Then they actually let you stay unshackled until you give birth. After you give birth, you have to get shackled back to the bed.
You're shackled to a bed?
Yes. Just your ankle.
Just your ankle, but you're shackled to a bed?
You're shackled, yes.
It's not the most propitious circumstances in which to have something which is so intensely personal.
It was very embarrassing, very embarrassing.
May I see the cell where you spend most of your time?
Yes.
Thank you. See, yes. How different would this be in its physical surroundings if you were at home
At home, he would have his own room. I wouldn't have my bed in here. He would have a dresser, a changing table.
What would you tell your son when he is old enough about where he was born and the circumstances in which he was born?
I really haven't thought about that question yet. I would just tell him that Mommy made a big mistake and it was for the better. Why I came here, it made Mommy learn a lot, and I hope he can learn from my mistakes and see how embarrassing it was to be here, and hopefully he won't ever come to a place like this.
You'll tell him he was born in prison?
Yes.
It's visiting time, and Kim is preparing to take baby Gabriella outside the unit. At times like these, offenders are sharply reminded of where they are.
So you have to be accompanied on these visits out, Kim, do you?
When we have the babies, yes.
Yes. Why is that?
Just for their safety.
I mean, there's sexual offenders here that have done crimes like that, so that's one of the reasons why we escort them.
It's difficult to believe that people will want to do anything to a child being taken out to a visiting area.
I know. It might happen. Yeah.
And you have to make sure it doesn't.
Yes, sir.
This, after all, Kim, is a women's prison. So it's rather difficult to imagine that a woman would do something against a child.
Oh, yeah. For me, it's hard for me to fathom that a mother or any woman would be able to do that to a child, but it happens, and there's actually women in this prison that have hurt their children. Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
132, 173, from me, 1 to 9, and 1 to 13 from the dining hall.
This is Rockville Correctional Facility, the largest women's prison in the state of Indiana, with more than 1,200 convicts. Lieutenant Brad Gray is taking me to Dormitory 5, one of the largest in the prison. Inmates here are allowed the freedom of the unit during the day. Come nighttime, they're locked in, 16 to a room.
Are there outbreaks of disorder with 16 women in one small space?
Occasionally, yeah. We have, just like any other environment where you have that many people in a small space, once they get on each other's nerves to the point that they feel a physical altercation or a verbal altercation is their only means of resolution, then we'll have arguments or fights from time to time.
Much more fundamentally, how do you choose, or do you choose, who is one of the 16 in one of those rooms, and how do you do that?
We just do it through the offender's behavior. Those offenders who display more difficult behavior, we have closer to the officer's station.
Would you put, say, somebody who's been guilty of check fraud with somebody who's committed murder? Would you put them in one dome?
Yes, we would, because it again is predicated more by the offender's behavior once they're in the environment than it is by the crime that got them. Yes, absolutely.
I'd been told about one of the most difficult people in this unit. Kiana Ball is in for armed robbery.
Hello, I'm Trevor.
I'm Kiana.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's a very crowded space to be in.
Yes, it is. It's kind of odd being in a room with so many females and not really having your own personal space. Like, you have your own personal space, but it seems like it's not enough.
What's the atmosphere like when everybody's here?
It can be a little off balance, a little frustrating, because all the different moods and attitudes it's like a lot of different personalities, and they tend to clash, and you have like half the room has their good days and then half the room has their bad days. So it's like, it's real crazy. It's real crazy.
Out of earshot of her cellmates, I asked to talk to Ball about her crime. In 2009, Kiana Ball and her boyfriend Carlton Wright attempted to steal a van at gunpoint. The owner, Rinaldo Santiago, resisted and was shot at point-blank range. This is Ball and Wright moments after the shooting. They hide their weapons in a nearby apartment block. When she was arrested, police discovered these guns in Kiana Ball's handbag.
How old are you now?
I'm 22. I will be 23 in November.
So you were 19 years of age?
Yes.
When you came to prison?
It's a lot to handle, and I have kids at home, so that makes it a little more harder to cope with than anything.
How many kids do you have at home?
I have 2 kids at home. I have a little girl, Brianna. She's 6. She'll be 7 July 16th. And I have a 4-year-old son, Ezion. He will be 5 June 12th.
How were you caught? How were you found out?
We found ourselves in a jam with a guy that we had met, and things just got out of hand. And we were trying to rob him, and just things, like I said, things got out of hand, things got carried away, and he ended up being shot, and
You shot him?
Yes.
How severely was the victim hurt?
He was severely hurt on the left side of his face. The bullet came into close contact with his eye, and
You shot him in the face?
Yes, it came into close contact with the side of his face by his eye. Now he's permanently blind in his left eye.
Wow.
Yes.
What's your emotional response knowing what the consequence of your action was?
I didn't have any feeling at all about it. I didn't feel sorry about it. I didn't regret it. I didn't want to take it back. I didn't want to fix anything. I didn't feel bad at all. But after the fact, I felt bad because it's like, this is an innocent man. I don't know him from anywhere. He doesn't know me from anywhere. He's never done anything to me because we don't know each other. So when I thought about it, I was like, I almost took an innocent man's life.
And your sentence was?
My sentence was, I signed a plea, pleading guilty to armed robbery with serious bodily injury, and I was sentenced to 30 years due 15.
You have to deal too with the realization that the formative years of your children's development
Yes.
will go on
Yes.
Without you.
It bothers me because like all the little things that I'm missing out on are all the little things that I would love to be there for. Like my son's first day of school, just all the little things is what are the most important to me. So it hurts.
It is quite conceivable that they might have been out of school by the time you by the time you get out.
There's a possibility that's if I don't keep myself out of trouble and I keep down the path that I've found myself being on, getting into trouble constantly, in and out of lock. If I keep myself on that path, then I'll find myself not getting home to my kids until they're grown, and that's something I don't want to happen. I want to
almost until they're adults.
Yes. So I would like to make it home to them before it's too late. I would like to be able to spend some time with them before they're too grown.
Kiana Ball is one of those who finds it extremely difficult to cope with life in prison, compounded by the fact that bad conduct has got her an additional 9 years. Evening recreation at Rockville. Prisoners have an hour's free time before lights out. The tedium of the unimaginable sameness of long days poses difficulties for even the toughest offenders. And for some, there's the constant pain of living with the memory of what you did. Dawn Hopkins was convicted of the battery and manslaughter of her 3-month-old son. After almost 15 years, she's about to be released.
Hello.
Do you mind if we interrupt your game for a brief while?
No, that's okay.
How much time do you get to play table tennis every day?
We spend about an hour a day doing that Monday through Friday. It gives us something to do, and gets us off the housing unit. It's a little bit of exercise, but it's not real intense.
How long have you been at this facility?
I've been incarcerated at this facility for 1 year, but I've been incarcerated for 14 and a half years.
14 and a half years?
Yes, but it's almost over. I have 2 years left. In like 29 months, I go home.
In your darkest moments here, have you reflected on the circumstances which actually brought you to prison?
Yes. 3 months into my incarceration, I tried to take my own life because I couldn't deal with the guilt of what I had done to bring myself here. I was very lucky that an officer found me and saved my life. I hung myself 3 months into my stay.
You tried to hang yourself?
Yes, I did. I was facing the rest of my life incarcerated. I was 25 years old. I had taken another person's life, and I couldn't live with that. And I did try to take my own life when I was first incarcerated.
So the trigger for your attempting to take your own life was the fact that you were looking ahead at this vast expanse of time that you had to do in jail?
And the guilt of taking somebody's life, the pain that I had caused my family, and I just felt like I was never going to be able to do anything positive with my life ever again.
It must be strange to think of going home after all this time.
Actually, it's terrifying. The world has changed in so many ways, and when I'm done, I'll have done 16 years. And the amount of ways that the world has changed in that time, it's scary, and I don't have a lot of family support, so it'll be like standing on my own 2 feet for the first time in my life.
What was your early life like?
I was a full-time college student. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I ran a bar that my stepdad owned. When I go home, I also have a degree in philosophy that I've earned since I've been incarcerated. When I go home, I'm hoping to eventually own my own bakery, coffee shop. I want to get my pastry chef license and do that kind of stuff when I go home.
You seem to have worked it out pretty well. You seem determined not to be somebody who comes back, and you have a plan for your life in the future.
Absolutely. I think that's what you have to do. You have to set goals, and you have to turn your dream into a goal. Set the steps and accomplish them one at a time to be able to reach your goal. Otherwise, you're just treading water.
For most prisoners here, treading water is the sum total of their lives. And I'm about to meet a woman who spent more time in prison than any other in the state of Indiana. At Indiana Women's Prison, 69 inmates are here for life. They will, of course, be denied any chance of a return to their families. For the majority, that's the agony that constantly haunts them. One of the prisoners here came to this place years ago as a teenager. This is called the Programs Building. My escort is Officer Frank Bryan.
Morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
M2M1.
This is our community outreach. These ladies up here are working on a quilt, I believe.
Disregard the visiting room meeting.
Okay.
Meet you at
So
9 o'clock
these are
meeting.
some examples of some of the things they're making.
I've been here since I was 16 years old. I've done 38 years, so.
You've been here since
I don't get
6.
out- Yeah, I don't get out much.
Yeah, you've been here since you were 16.
Yes. Yeah, but,
That's a pretty early age to come to prison.
yeah. I'm the youngest, I was the youngest offender ever here, and now I'm the longest one to have ever spent as much time here. Yeah.
That's your tag, yes?
Yes, I've got the shortest DOC number.
Which year did you come to this prison?
Which year?
In which year?
75. 1975.
1975.
Yes. I've never driven a car. I never went on a date. Never had a checking account. I was never able to be a mother. But a lot of these people in here that are younger, I'm mom.
Do you have many family connections? Do people come to visit you?
My sister does with her kids and her grandkids. So I still have a connection out there. Yeah.
How do they regard you? What do they think of you and of your situation?
Oh, they want me to come home. They want me to
That hurts.
Yeah. My two nieces, they went and broke their piggy bank and took their money to their mom, my sister, and said, "Is this enough to get Aunt Cindy out?"
Gosh.
Yeah. And that's what makes me emotional.
It's very difficult to me to talk to somebody who's been in this situation for 38 years when I look back on my life and think all the things I have done in that time.
Yeah.
And to some extent yours has...
It's in a box.
You came into prison at age 16. What for?
Murder. I committed murder.
What were the circumstances in which you killed someone?
I was abused. I was extremely abused from basically a home that I was living at. And I tried to leave, and I set a fire trying to get out, and it got out of hand, and they died in the fire.
So you started the fire?
Trying to escape.
Right. And how many people?
6.
6 people were in the house?
Yes.
And they died?
Yes.
Did you not know there were people there?
I knew the people were there. What I was thinking was, if I set a fire, then everybody can get out and I can run. That was my intentions. The fire got out of hand.
How quickly were you apprehended?
A couple of months later. I was in the hospital because I had burns. Yeah.
So you burnt yourself too?
Trying to save them. That's how I got burnt. I kept trying to go back into the house to get them.
Didn't work?
No.
This is probably a brutal way of putting it, and I acknowledge that, but the fact is, for you, this is it.
Right.
You will end your life here. You will end your days here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am looking forward to growing old in here because...
You're looking forward to that?
Yes, because, I'm going to know that my life is not going to be much longer. And there's something always positive on the other side, and I believe that.
It's very good to meet you.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
All of you.
Early chow! Line up!
Another day is beginning at Rockville. Although the majority of inmates here will be released into the community one day, prisoners talk endlessly about the years of family life they have missed. The story of one of the people here, though, is different. She watched her children grow up when, by law, she should have been doing life for murder. Linda Darby's story is remarkable by any standard. In 1972, she escaped from prison. She went on the run for more than 30 years, and in that time, managed to create an entirely new life. To evade capture, she abandoned the family and the town she knew. She set out to start again in a small town in Tennessee.
Darby's escape from the Indiana State Women's Prison was bloody.
I was scratched up and bloody and everything from going over the barbed wire.
For the past 30 years or so, the now 64-year-old has been living in Pulaski. Even Darby doesn't know how she kept her 30-year secret. married with 2 children, 8 grandchildren. A playset is in the backyard. She cleaned houses for a living. Today, though, this fugitive has a message for people who believed her to be Linda McElroy and not Linda Darby.
This is who I am. This is who I am.
So you escaped and you decided to make a clean breast of it, start a new life.
I just changed my last name, changed 1 digit to my Social Security, and that's how I survived.
Were you always in a position where you were looking over your shoulder, wondering whether the next tap on your shoulder would be that of an arresting officer, a policeman, somebody in authority?
There's always the chance. I just kept asking God, please let me raise my children. I couldn't imagine them not being able to take care of themselves.
Did you ever confide in anybody at all about what had happened to you?
No.
There was nobody you felt you could talk to about your life in prison before?
I knew that if I involved them, then that would put them in the middle of it too. So no, I did not.
But it must be difficult when people talk about their lives. You drift into talking about what you did earlier. How was it possible never to mention anything about your past to your closest friends?
It was hard. It was very hard. But I just kept it within.
On the day that policeman came to your house, on that fateful day, what were you planning to do on that day?
I had just got through working. I was working for cleaning house that day, and we had came in, fixed dinner, and I was sitting at the kitchen table smoking a cigarette. My daughter went to the door, and Joe Robinson, who was the policeman that came to the house, and I knew him for 30 years, he said, I'm going to show you this picture. And Linda, tell me if you know who this person is. And I said, it's me. He said, no. He said, I told them they were wrong. He said, I've known you 30 years. I said, Joe, what's the sense of me lying? I could sit here and lie all day to you, and fingerprints don't lie. I said, you'd know it as soon as you took my fingerprints.
What did you say to your children?
I told them. And they said, Mom, we're behind you 100% because we know you didn't do it. I told them that back in 1970, I was accused and then of killing my my second husband.
What did they say?
They said, we don't believe it. We know you didn't do it. And my husband said the same thing.
Were you surprised that you were an escaped prisoner for so long? Did it surprise you?
Mm-hmm.
And now?
And now, all I can do is try my best to work my way out legally, walking out the front door.
I've never heard a story of somebody who's been on the run for 35 years. I've never heard anything quite like it.
Linda Darby will probably die in this prison. But unlike the other women here, she has memories of 35 years of freedom. I'm back at Indiana Women's Prison. I'm here to see one inmate whose story I had found particularly disturbing. Cindy White has the unenviable record of being the longest-serving female prisoner in the state of Indiana. Release for her is unlikely. At the start of her sentence, she was a teenager. She's appealed against that sentence again and again.
Cindy White was in court again today, and her attorney asked the judge for just one thing.
That the court consider whether she was competent to stand trial at the time that she went to trial in 1976.
But the Johnson County prosecutor says Cindy White deserves to be in just one place.
In prison for the murder of a number of people.
6 people, Charles and Carol Robertson, with 4 of their children, who all burned in a fire that White set more than 20 years ago in this Greenwood neighborhood.
I set the fire. It wasn't to kill anybody, it was to ask, my way of asking for help.
But White now says that she was not fit to stand trial back in 1976. She claims that she had been traumatized by years of sexual abuse by her father and even by the people she eventually murdered. Today, Cindy White hopes that a judge will overturn her murder convictions.
None of her appeals has been successful. Her last was about 10 years ago.
Remember my extended family I said that I have
We were
created in
talking
here?
about that, yeah.
Well, this lady right here that's needle pointing, this is my daughter Evie.
All right. Hello, Evie.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Has she taught you a lot?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's probably the strongest woman I've ever met
Really? Why do you say that?
because I can't imagine being faced with what she's been faced with and staying as strong as she is.
Having been here for such a long time.
Yes. And I love her.
Here, it's kind of like you see what you get. We've all been kind of in the same boat, hurt, disappointed, despair. So when you can reach out to someone that's walked in your shoes, then it makes it easier.
So which is your
I'm in the
space?
bottom one,
Uh-huh.
the messy one. Welcome to my home.
Wow. Home which is shared with...
Yes, this is my bunkie. Would you introduce yourself?
Cheyenne Pennington.
Hello.
And we get along really well. I'm mama to her, she says.
It's another
And-
member of your extended
Yes,
family.
I get them without even realize I have them.
And which is your bunk?
This is my bunk. This is where I am secluded in. I come
Wow.
in, and when I don't want to be bothered with somebody or just alone, I will pull out and get down there and hide for just a little bit.
You must have seen people come and go here
Oh,
over the
yeah.
years.
Yeah, this unit, there's a lot of ins and outs, what we call. They finish their time and they go home. And I really don't deal with them too much because, well, it hurts.
Because you see people who come here, you get to know them, and then they leave, and you stay.
Yeah, and it hurts. I'm not going to say it doesn't. Because I really wanted to have that hope of going home. But as it is now, I know what's for real, and I had to be in reality. I can't hope on false hopes.
But it's a recurring hurt because you see people come and go
Oh, yes.
constantly.
I'm excited to see them go home because I know that they're going to be doing something that I can't do. And that is be with their family. But I have made a family in here to take away the pain.
Why do they keep you? Why, in your mind, have they decided to keep you in these conditions?
I don't know. That's a question I ask all the time is, what is it that I am not doing? You know, if they tell me what it is that I can do to say, okay, yes, you can go, I'll be more than happy to. I'll be more than happy to do it.
You've been up for parole.
I've been up several times, and each time I'm refused. And I finally got tired because the disappointment. When I go up before him, I'm like, yes, this year I'm going home. I just know it. There's no other way. But I'm tired of doing that. and I'm tired of getting my feelings hurt. And I figured this way, if they haven't let me go in the 37 years that I have tried to go, they're never going to let me go. So I've got to make do with what I have and make the best of it.
How have you survived this for so many years?
I tried to find somebody worse off than me. I tried to find someone that needs a kind word, that needs a hug, that needs to be shown that they care. I need to care for something or someone. I want to love. I want to be loved.
It's a kind of escape from which there is, in fact, no escape.
Yeah. It's just that you find that thing that makes you want to say, okay, I'm going to be okay today, and hold on to it.
However you mentally come to terms with it, it's a very difficult adjustment to make.
I want something to show for my life other than a DOC number.
A prison record number.
Right. And right now, I don't have it. There's nothing out there that says Sarah Cindy White exists other than the number.
I'm on my way again to the Rockville Correctional Facility. For the last time. Of the litany of crimes you hear about in this prison, perhaps the most shocking is that of a mother who kills her child. I'd come to see an inmate I'd met before. Dawn Hopkins is now looking forward to her release. She had been forced to give up her first 2 children because she'd abused them. But in 2001, she was convicted of killing her 3rd child, 3-month-old Noah.
How often do you reflect on the chain of circumstances which actually got you here?
Sometimes it just sneaks up on you like that and you don't even realize it, and you're happy and then you realize that you're sad, you know, and it's something that maybe it's a song that played or something that somebody said, or last weekend was Mother's Day and somebody wished me a happy Mother's Day and it was not good. It just brings all of that back.
Your son was only 3 months old. The realization that you took the life of someone to whom you gave birth must be probably the most horrendous thing of all.
Absolutely. You know, I can still remember when I found out I was pregnant. You know, I was 6 weeks pregnant and they did this ultrasound and there was this little life and, you know, they told me he was like 1.5 inches long. And at that moment, you could see his heartbeat, and I promised at that moment to keep him safe forever. And I didn't. And that makes me feel like a monster. And it makes me feel like I don't even deserve to be alive some days.
As an educated person, you must go through a lot of self-analysis. You must look back and try to analyze your actions.
I honestly don't even have an answer for you. I don't know. I struggled with postpartum depression after the birth of my son. I was seeing a psychologist regularly. I was actually in his office the day that I took the life of my son. It was a normal everyday day. I had been to the craft store to buy a Christmas stocking for him. It was right before Halloween, and I sat, you know, working on the little felt pieces for this stocking for him for his first Christmas, and, you know, it was just him and I that day, and I don't know. He was fussy because he was had a cold, and I don't know. I lost my temper, and I should have been better than that.
Was that a moment of blind rage?
In a moment, life changed. I was sitting on the couch, feeding him, giving him a bottle, and talking to my mom on the phone, watching The Simpsons. And 15 minutes later, I was on the phone to the paramedics, getting instructions on doing CPR because he wasn't breathing.
Wow. Gosh, it's a terrible moment.
Life happens in a moment, and you take life for granted. You never realize what moment it's going to be that your life is going to change forever.
What did you do when you discovered your son wasn't breathing?
I called the paramedic. I called 911, talked to the paramedics, began performing CPR until a police officer came in and took over CPR. Then the paramedics got there. We all went in an ambulance to the hospital. They called in saying that they had a child coming in with unresponsive. So they had a chaplain there waiting to talk to me when I got there. And they were able to get his heart beating again, but due to the brain damage, he was not breathing on his own. So
He suffered brain damage?
Yes. He died from shaken baby syndrome.
How quickly did they blame you for your son's death?
But they didn't blame me. I was honest with them. I told them exactly what happened as much as I could remember, because at that point, all I wanted to do was save his life if possible, and it didn't matter what happened to me.
Going through that long process of being in police custody, that must have been pretty traumatic, knowing what had happened.
There were death threats made against me, and
why people thought you were a child killer. A
Yes.
mother who kills her child is probably held up as one of the most
yes, the
horrific
most
people.
contemptuous in our society. I mean, the most contemptuous would be a sex offender, somebody that's a pedophile. Other than that, you're baby killers.
So you were classed as a baby killer?
I was that, I am that. I'm a lot more than that as well, but that's who I am.
I eventually took my leave of Indiana and the many women behind bars in this state. The thoughts that stay with me are of horrendous crimes and the staggeringly long sentences. But thoughts, too, of wasted lives and the families left behind.